Anytime I post a photo or a video on Instagram, the biggest compliment I get from my audience is about my legs. I've posted squat videos squatting the weight of different guys at the gym, and I've gotten questions from both men and women on how to grow and build big, strong legs. And it's an area, not surprisingly, that most people struggle with. And of course, I'm always flattered when I get compliments about my legs, because if you've seen any of my transformation photos, or if you've followed me since the beginning of my fitness journey, you can see that I was a very slim girl. I had very skinny legs. So everything that I have achieved on my fitness journey with my legs and growing and building my lower body was built one single workout at a time. So about a few months ago, I decided to switch up my leg training completely. And in order for you to understand how I train my legs, I'm going to take you through my leg training split. Mondays are usually lower body for me. Tuesdays are my pull days, back, biceps. Wednesday, I'll hit legs again with focus on quads. Thursdays, I'll rest, and Fridays are my push days. Saturday, I'll hit lower body again, but this time focusing more on glutes and hamstrings. And Sundays, I will rest. So throughout my week, I train my lower body 3 times with really good intensity in comparison to some people who only train their lower bodies once. And I know most people will wonder, well, isn't that overtraining? No, not necessarily. It depends how you structure your workouts. And of course, it depends on your recovery time in between those workouts. So if you're getting a sufficient amount of sleep, a sufficient amount of protein, a sufficient amount of calories during the day, it means your muscles only take about 48 hours to fully repair and rebuild and get stronger and recover. So from the moment that you tear those muscles up at the gym, 48 hours later, they've grown back stronger, bigger, which is why I've adopted the training method of training my legs 3 times a week with at least 24 to 48 hours of rest and recovery time in between my sessions before I hit my lower body again. Now let's get into the actual training. There are several muscles in our legs, but the main ones are the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and then we have the adductors in the upper leg or thigh, and then we have our calves, which is in our lower legs, and then of course we have our glutes, which comprised of its own 3 major muscles. When it comes to building those really thick thighs, your quads and your hamstrings are one of the most important areas that you are going to build. So the workouts that I do during my leg day training splits are as follows. On Monday lower body session, I'll do back squats. My main focus when I'm training is progressive overload. Lift heavier weights as the week progresses. Then I'll do an exercise like a heel elevated goblet squat, just so I can target my calves a bit as well. Then I'll do a seated leg press. With this, I do 4 sets with a narrow stance. Then I'll go into 3 sets with a wide stance, focusing on progression. And finally, I'll do a seated leg extension, which I think targets your quads quite accurately. Next are my hamstrings. This is by far one of my favorite muscles to train because it just gives your legs that 3D look. Like you see how my hamstrings are popping out in this photo? Chef's kiss. So sexy to me. Surprisingly, I only do 2 exercises for my hamstrings, and that's an RDL and a lying hamstring curl. And to be honest, that's really all you need. You don't need to overcomplicate your workouts by doing 10, 7, 6, 8 different exercises for each muscle group, because then you just get overwhelmed and it'll be hard to track your progress when you're doing so many different exercises. How do you know which one is your strongest? How do you know if you're even improving during this exercise? So the key is to have at least 3 to 4 exercises per muscle group. I train with free weights most of the time, so I'll use a lot of dumbbells, I'll use a lot of barbells. So I'll usually start off with about 15 kg dumbbells, and then I'll progress my way up to about 25 to 30 kg. And that is just how my training split is, focusing on progressive overload, getting better, improving my form and improving my technique, slowing down my reps, slowing down my tempo, and focusing on these key aspects of muscle growth. And of course, for me during my trainings, I tend to train till failure. So I don't cap my reps at 10 reps. So if it's 8 to 10 reps, 8 being my lowest, 10 being my highest. But if I find myself doing 10 reps of an exercise then that means that it was too easy and I can up my reps. So I'll usually go to 12 or 15, or I'll just max out at failure. And of course, I cannot forget my calves. These are a pretty small muscle group, and unfortunately, I was not genetically gifted with big calves. So when it comes to my calf exercises, I try to incorporate them during some of my other exercises. Like I said, I'll probably do a heel elevated goblet squat. Sometimes I'll also do a heel elevated squat, which is not usually my favorite, but when it comes to isolated calf exercises, I'll do like a calf raise, and I usually train my calves to failure, keeping the weights relatively light to medium, not too heavy, because then it alters my form and I absolutely hate that. Finally, the queen of them are the glutes. Now our glutes are their own separate muscle. They are made up of 3 individual muscles. We have the gluteus maximus, which is the biggest. Then we have the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus. And when you're doing certain other exercises, you're also going to target your glutes as well. For example, if I am doing an RDL, I'm going to also target parts of my glutes as well, because those muscles are just connected. But of course, it's important to isolate the glutes as well, because I also love to have that definition and size in my glutes, which is something that I prioritize during my workouts. For my glutes, I train them once or twice a week. So I'll throw in like 2 glute exercises during a leg session, and then the second day that I'm training my glutes, which is usually a Saturday, I'll have my dedicated glute workout. So here I'll do my hip thrusts, I'll do my split squats, my sumo deadlifts, which are really good for the adductors as well. Then I'll do a glute bias RDL, and I would do a deficit reverse lunge. Most importantly, for any type of muscle growth, you need calories, mainly protein. I strive to consume at least 100 grams a day from food sources like chicken, eggs, and fish, and my whey protein supplements from Prozis. Remember guys, code SOFIT10 gives you 10% off. Make sure you grab a copy of my free training guide. I'm going to leave the link in my description for you to check it out. And also my cookbook is here. My digital cookbook is out now. Guys, I have so many amazing recipes on there for you. It is so simple. Anybody can follow this recipe. This is for you if you're someone who probably gets bored of eating the same meals all the time, and you just want high protein, healthy meals where you don't really necessarily have to count too much calories, still want to enjoy your foods. This is for you. I have a section for air fried foods, for desserts. I have lunch, dinner options. So make sure you grab a copy of this cookbook. I always appreciate all of you guys' support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.